Hey, what is up? Hey, everybody, how are you? Welcome to the Thursday VS Code live stream. How's everybody doing? There's 101 of y'all here already. Is everybody that excited for XAML and C# and Visual Studio Code, or are y'all coming from a different stream? I'm curious. Also, can you hear the music? I'm trying to figure out how to get music into the stream. I'm working on it. So anyway, thank you for being here with us today. My name is Burke, if we haven't met. And today we have a very special guest. I can't speak apparently. And his name is Jerome Laban. Let's bring him on the stream. Did I get that right?
You did. Hi, Burke.
All right, I practiced a little bit, y'all. So please welcome Jerome to the stream. You can't hear the music? That's too bad.
No, there's no music.
Can't hear the music. Man, it's terrible because it's like lo-fi. It's very chill. I feel like y'all would like it a lot.
Well, maybe I'm not listening to the stream, so maybe it is.
I don't know. No, they're saying there's no music. Okay. I can't, y'all. Here's the thing. I can't figure out how to run it through OBS and get it into StreamYard. So I'm gonna work on that. Maybe that guy Jeff Fritz knows a thing or two. I'll call him up and get some streaming tips since I have no idea what I'm doing. Thank you for being here, Jerome. Thank you for being here. What are we doing today, man?
We're going to be taking a look at what UNO platform is doing and the integration with VS Code.
It's all right. Awesome. Can you turn your mic up a little bit? You're a little quiet for me.
Is it better now?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Okay.
Put a gain adjustment on there. You can.
That's correct. Let me check that out. There's probably something that I can do there.
So tell us a little bit about the UNO platform. Like what exactly is UNO?
So UNO is all about getting cross-platform development. It's a native UI framework that allows to do WinUI. So the WinUI, which is the technology that Microsoft is pushing on Windows, but to get that running everywhere .NET runs. So that means desktop, Win7, Mac, Linux, mobile, WebAssembly, and it's built on the same .NET 6 and iOS, Android, macOS, WebAssembly that powers MAUI and Blazor, pretty much.
So for those of us that don't know much about .NET, which is some of us, chat, if you're a .NET developer, can you just drop a 1 in the chat? I'm just curious. I'm not. And so that doesn't mean a lot to me. You mentioned a couple things in there. You talked about WinUI. You talked about .NET MAUI.
.NET MAUI, yeah. So let's dive into a bit of those. So basically .NET is their cross-platform C# development that's been there for a while. That started by Miguel de Casa on the open source side and moved up to be on the integrated into the open source version of it that Microsoft is maintaining. It's fully available for all those targets. So talking about the desktop, the mobile, and the web using WebAssembly. And when we're talking about XAML and WinUI is basically a markup language. It's a framework that uses a markup language that's XML based and that allows to define UI layouts, pretty much.
Okay, so I'm familiar with XAML because I did some Silverlight way back. I'm dating myself now, y'all, but I actually used to do Flex, and then I came from Flex to Silverlight. So these are applications that are running either on Windows or in the browser. Do I have that correct? They're either Windows native or they're running in the browser.
If you're talking about WinUI specifically, they're Windows only. If you're talking about the technology Microsoft is pushing, it's just Windows. You're basically creating your application using that markup language, and it runs on. So WinUI runs on Windows 8 and up. So that's pretty much what it allows to do.
Okay. Anybody out there not running at least Windows 8?
And that's the thing.
In the house.
Exactly. So there was there's WPF for those that want to go down below to go to earlier versions of Windows. But it's it looks the same, but it's not exactly the same. And the Windows team is pushing to get to the newer version of it, so the WinUI 1. And but it's still Windows. So that's where we come in and allow it for running on other targets. So running on mobile and desktops that are not Windows, so Linux, Mac, and others, and going down on version of Windows as well, and also going to the web.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess we're gonna do some demo today. What are we gonna do? We're gonna build one of these things.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely build one of those things.
All right, so I'm gonna add your screen to the stream. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Give me
last chance to hide anything.
I'm not hiding anything. Just showing up the right thing.
All right,
there you go.
All right, here we go. We're on.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is basically create an app that runs. So this is a Linux desktop. Don't mind the font sizes and stuff. This is because I'm on a 4K screen. I'm just zooming things up. So there are a few things that Ubuntu is not scaling up for me. But anyways, it'll just do fine. So basically, how it works is you create an application like you open VS Code and then you install the Uno platform add-in. So search for Uno, you click here, create install, and that's pretty much it. And then once you're done, there's a few things that will install automatically, or will ask you to install .NET and things like that. But it's pretty much baked in all the setups that are needed. You're going to get pop-ups if that's not working for you. And once we're there, we can just type in a few things. So it's command line stuff, like you were doing with VS Code. And well, let's create one. So let me paste a few command lines if it wants to. There you go. So let's see. Try it again. Oh, does it want to? Oh, no, let's try again.
The demo gods have
broken
copy paste.
Broken copy paste. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me type it in. So WinUI and Net6. So the idea is that we're supporting a lot of targets, but let's disable one of those. So we don't want the mobile one because we're running specifically for that demo here. We don't need the Skia WPF one. And actually, so I'm gonna do some more copy paste. Let me try again, because if it doesn't work, that's not gonna help. So I'm gonna restart the thing, is probably because it went there.
Yeah, that's no problem. In the meantime, it's kind of strange that we are writing a WinUI application on Ubuntu. Are we on Linux?
Yes, it is Linux. So I'm running there because I wanted to switch between multiple desktops. So I need to be able to run on Windows as well. So that's why I'm connected to something else. But let's see. Oh, there you go. The page works.
It's magic.
It's XRDP for some reason, because it went to the lock.
You know what happened? It's because Jeff Fritz is here, and so the stream.
That's
like,
why.
I can't mess around. Yeah. What's up?
There you go.
Good to see you, man.
Okay, so now it works. So basically, I created the app. I'm gonna go to my app. Just open the code, a new instance of code inside of that folder. I'm trusting everything, and then there we have it. So basically what we have here is a set of projects that are compatible with Visual Studio and Windows, but it doesn't matter that much here. It uses OmniSharp, which is the add-in for C# that runs in VS Code. And there are a few messages that pop up. So let's see here. There was one about the fact that there are things that are not installed properly. So .NET uses NuGet, which is pretty much like NPM for Cargo or other environments that are running there. So let's restore a few things. It's going to download a few packages. And then when I'm done, I'm going to select the WebAssembly target. That's the easiest for now. And I want to show you that one specifically. And then we're just going to debug. So I'm going to start the app, and then we're going to go through inside the app that's running, and we're going to see.
Okay, so just so I can catch up here, basically you scaffolded a new project with something on the command line, and then you're just running it.
Exactly.
You haven't really done anything else in that. Okay.
No, I haven't done anything. So let me see if I can get the window to go at the right side. There you go. Okay. So it's pretty much an app that runs in the browser. It says hello world. And to see what that does and where that comes from, we can go take a look at the XAML files and C# files that are related to it. So we can see here in the shared project, it's a set of files that are shared between Windows, WebAssembly. We have a Skia GTK head, and we have a mobile head. So mobile head is everything that has to do with iOS, Android, macOS, Catalyst, and others. Of course, that doesn't work on Linux at this point. Maybe the Android one, if the Microsoft .NET team wants to get that running at some point. But for the ones that we're going to take a look at today are the SkiGTK one and the WebAssembly.
Okay, so the
version of
app
it.
that you're running though, that you're building, it could run on all of those places?
It could. And in terms of target, so it's actually quite large. We haven't have Tizen as a target, but the idea is that the code that you have in that folder, the shared one, is going to be reused on all those targets without being modified or needing to be modified
Okay.
on all of those. So if I click on the XAML file, you can see it's a bit of an XML, but the important content is that one. So we can see that there's the hello world here that I've shown that's available there.
And these elements, it's like grid and text block. It's
Exactly.
just like canonical XAML, right? This is not your
It is.
proprietary. Okay.
Exactly. And that's the important one. The Uno platform is all about not reinventing the wheel. We're not rebuilding a XAML, that's different from the others. We want to use one that's that has a community already, that's been proven to work, and that one was developed as when it started in Windows 8, when there was a lot of variety of screen sizes and hardware differences, so it can run on very small devices like IoT devices. And I have a Raspberry Pi here. I'm not going to show it today, but it can run a Raspberry Pi, but it can also run a very large screen on a TV if you want, with Android TV and things like that. So it can go from very small to very large, and those items are the same everywhere, and it renders of course differently depending on the target. But that's the beauty of it. We don't have to change anything.
All right, sounds good. I'm just looking through the chat here.
So
John Galloway's here as well. We got a lot of help in the chat from our .NET friends.
Yeah, that's very nice. Hey, John.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for helping.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of things and explaining how along the way how we did things. So let's do some copy paste. And this time it's not gonna bail on me. It worked good. So the interesting thing is that we're working actually with Microsoft and the WinUI team to get all of this running, and because we're implementing things that are coming from the WinUI framework, that means that as we're implementing WinUI, that means the controls that have been developed, the UI controls that have been developed by Microsoft for WinUI on Windows, we can take the code and implement that on the other targets. So let me show you one of those controls, or two of those controls that we have ported over. So I'm going to paste this here, and just a little bit here. And when I do Control S, the UI refreshes here with some new stuff. So it's a little bit small. Let me bump that up a little bit. And what you can see here is two controls. The first one is the number box. And the number box is a control that allows you to do things like this. It even allows you to do things like this. And arithmetic operations, you can type in the control. The info bar is a control that you can show stuff in it. So you can close it, and it's kind of things that you can put on the screen. But the idea is that those controls...
I've never seen that number bar before in my life. Is that a WinUI control? What is it?
Yes, it is a WinUI control. And,
okay, all right. Okay.
And that's the control that has been developed by the WinUI team. And we took the code basically and ported that over to Uno. And now it can run anywhere. It can run on Linux, it can run on the web, it can run anywhere. And
Okay. And that's that MUXC. That's sort of like your control that you've made, your custom.
So MUXC is actually the control. It's the namespace for the controls that are in the Microsoft UI XAML control. So it's a base class library, if you will, for controls that are coming from WinUI. And the interesting thing here is that we didn't develop that control. It's the control that comes from Microsoft. We took that control and made it work inside of Uno.
So wait a minute. So you just use the standard control, and then Uno takes care of like making that work on the web?
Exactly, or all the other targets, or mobile or others, and that's pretty cool. It's it's quite amazing. So it's the same thing for the other controls. So the info bar control that's available here, and that's pretty much what that does. So let me show you one more thing.
Okay,
when we're there, and that's one of the things that are cool with VS Code is that you can do interesting things like this one. So I can go to the code. There's a code what we're calling code behind. So there's a bit of code that's related to the same XAML page, and I can paste something is called map severity. So what I'm doing basically is creating a function that I can use from the XAML here. So the severity, I'm basically binding the number that's in the number box to the severity feature of the info bar. So it changes color based on the value that's in the number box.
Okay, so it's driven from the code, powered by.
Yeah, exactly. So we're binding one value to the other. So we're basically saying the number that's in here binds to the color of this one. So let me start the app again. And what that will do is that, I can take that, I can basically use that code, and you can see when the application is going to start that I'll be able to change the color here. So you can see that when I change this, the color changes. So if I move up, it goes red, and then it goes to, when I go to 8 here, it becomes yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what that does. So that's, I'm able to use some code from the XAML that's defined in the C# behind. Now, you can see here that 8 is kind of a weird value. So what I'm going to do is just change that value and say, oh, actually it was 2. That was the warning. It's not error. So I changed that to 2. And then if I go back to 8, now you can see that 8 is not yellow anymore. If I go back down to 2, now it becomes yellow.
Wow. So that's live reload.
That is live reload. It's actually not live reload. So it's called by Microsoft Hot Reload. And what that does is that it takes the code that's in the app here on my VS Code, recompiles it, makes a diff with what's running inside of the app, and then patches the app so that it uses the new code that's been updated.
Is that an Uno thing, or is that a .NET thing?
So that's a .NET thing. But we did the integration in VS Code. So that's where it is. So it's kind of a feature that we get there. And it's
actually really cool. I mean, this is like web development level stuff, right? Like we've had this as web developers for a while, but even for us, a lot of times it requires reloading the page, right?
So
reload the page.
Exactly. It happens. And so it's the same thing with C#. It's been out since .NET 6, so last October, if I remember correctly. Probably John may be able to correct me there. But the idea is that it's a feature in progress. So there are things that you can do. There are things that you can't yet do. For instance, and depending on the target. So on WebAssembly, you can't add a method yet. It's something that they're working on, and .NET 7 is going to add support for it. But you can change the body of a method and add, let's say if I want to, let's say do something like this. For instance, the console.writeLine, and I want to write something in the browser console, for instance. I do this, Control Save, and then I change the number there, and I go to if F12 wants me to, and it's probably going to be very small, but let's say you can see it here
there at the bottom. Yeah,
at the bottom, hello VS Code. So you can change the body of a method pretty quickly, and it works really well. So that's quite nice.
And your C#, y'all can just write out to the console in C# just like you're doing JavaScript.
Exactly. You can actually do much more than that. You'll have in Uno we have a login library that does things like warnings and stuff. You can have colored output and things. So it's the kind of a feature that we added along the way in .NET that makes it quite interesting.
Sheesh. I mean, this is. .NET is just not at all where I thought it was. This is eye-opening for me.
It's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, no kidding. That's amazing stuff. I mean, that's really, really cool.
So on the other things that we have, so taking. So I don't know if you've developed something that deals with dates, but we have, and it's.
Dates in JavaScript is
complicated.
Is a tricky subject. Yeah,
it is a tricky subject. And if you've developed a control that does date picking, it's amazingly complex. And especially if there are Japanese emperor that come in a mix, it's very complicated. And
so this is interesting, Jerome. I used to work for a company called Telerik, actually with your coworker Sasha, and
yes,
and that was Scott Hanselman used to say this thing where he would tell people, like, if people say I could build my own date picker, and he's like, all right, you have 3 hours, and then I'm going to buy a control from Telerik, right? And of course, there's no way you can't build a date picker in 3 hours. It takes months to build.
Exactly, it's extremely difficult. And this one is another control that we ported over from Microsoft. So it's we basically took the countless man hours or women hours that were there to get that control running. and it's basically available for you to use in the browser. So that's the kind of cool things that we have there. So it doesn't show well there, but there's also some blurring and gradients that are available when you have some content in the back. So that's kind of things that we ported over as well.
Very cool. So just quick question, like if you're running this on, say, iOS, does this then become that like scrolly date picker thing? Okay.
It does. So that's one of the things. So Uno is all about being able for you to choose. So if you want to let Uno do, you can have the same thing everywhere if you want to. But if you want, you can change the behavior of one specific control and specific instance of control. That's very important to use the basic behavior, the platform behavior if you want to. So it may look like this on iOS, but it will show up the calendar picker with the Rolodex that's happening on iOS. And if you're on Android, it's going to be showing a different thing. If you're on the web, it shows this one. If you're on Linux, it shows this one as well. So kind of depending on the platform, you can choose whatever behavior you want.
Okay, that makes sense. Just looking at the chat here, they're talking about. For some reason, we're talking about MS Edge. Microsoft Edge themes. Yeah, I guess you can. Can you theme Edge? I didn't know you could do that either. I'm learning.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can.
Can you really?
Yeah, of course you can. And change the. You can change the kind of things. And actually, let me show you this. It's so I can probably.
They're saying use Juicy Plum.
Let me show you.
Although I can't repeat your username. I'd like to.
So the setting is this one. Customize your Chrome profile. So it's not this one. It looks like because
oh yeah, look at that.
So it's supposed to be changing. So I don't know where that one is. There's a search. Okay, so it's dark. I think it probably goes to dark. No, it's light. I don't remember. But anyways, the idea is that you can change all this and customize your Chrome profile. It doesn't show. But anyways, we support, so Uno supports light and dark theming. On Linux, I don't know where to get that one. It's a bit different from the other ones. But you can change that. So if it follows, so Uno follows light and dark theming. So if you change it, let's say using your sunlight settings, then Uno apps are going to follow, even inside the browser. So it goes on desktops, on mobile devices as well. So that's the kind of things that you can do. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
So we got some questions here. How do you group controls, tables, containers, so you end up with labels and controls? I guess like forms, maybe. Label control.
Hang in there.
Okay, we're getting there. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a few other things that we can do. But for grouping controls, there are some. There's some control, and probably you may be talking about things like group box and things in WinForms. Maybe if that's what you're talking about. But yeah, there are controls that do exist. I don't think there are any that are coming from WinUI specifically, but I think there's a Windows Community Toolkit. I think there are controls like those. So Windows Community Toolkit is an open source project that's been developed for WinUI specifically, and because it's compatible with Uno, because we're implementing WinUI, that means that all those controls can be running inside of an Uno project. And I'm going to show you one afterwards that does that. One of the other controls that's quite important when you're running on a desktop app is a tree view. So
yes,
the famous tree view. Probably. So let me see. Did I write something wrong there? I probably wrote something wrong. Let me see. So it says parser. So I know there's something that changed in match page. Did I do something wrong? Interesting. Oh yeah, if I don't copy paste the full thing, it doesn't work. There you go. Missing the top level one. Okay, so that's a tree view, and you can data bind tree view. You can use it using some kind of data that comes in that's a C# object, and then data bind that using hierarchies and things like that. We even support drag and drop, so you can even move stuff around inside of your tree view if you want to. That works as well. So that's
is that because the tree view control supports the drag and drop?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the kind of
So
control.
this is interesting because this is where JavaScript starts to get tricky, right? So if you're doing like React or Vue, you can probably find a tree view component, but it was written by somebody in the community. That doesn't make it bad, but
Yeah.
it does mean that there will be like 12 to choose from, and you're not
Yeah.
really sure.
Well, I mean,
You
there's
know,
going to be 12 to choose from anyways.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the idea here is that it's the one that's been developed for WinUI. Same thing. We took over that one. So we implemented one originally. It was not exactly the same. So now we have the same source that's coming from Microsoft. So it's behaving pretty much the same way. So it's been styled using the Windows 11 style, but you can change that if you want. It's all stylable. You can make it looking like the Windows Explorer or any Linux GTK lookalike thing that you want. It's definitely possible.
So question here is, Jerome, is Microsoft providing advanced UI controls here? Like one of the big value propositions of the ASP.NET was like you could have a data grid. And actually, I built so many applications with a data grid back in the day. And there was actually somebody named Data Grid Girl. I don't know if y'all remember Data Grid Girl. She had a blog and she would show you how to do these crazy things with a data grid. Are those kinds of things still in?
Yeah. Well, let me jump to the next one because it's so on point. So let me actually just do that. So I'm adding a reference to a package that's been developed by actually. If you've been doing Silverlight, it's actually a package that comes back from Silverlight, and it's been ported over to WinUI in a few iterations. And what I'm going to do is add a few things. So there's that code. I'm going to add a few other things. So let me put a data grid specifically here. So that's a data grid control. And I'm going to put some data behind. Otherwise, it won't show anything. And let's go to the code there. So it won't show anything because I'm going to be adding code. And because I'm adding a class, that one is not supported by default. So I'm going to be restarting everything up. So that's one of the scenarios that I hope .NET 7 is going to be improving significantly.
All you did was add a list.
Yeah, I did add a list. I added a list and added a control here.
You have like a class of custom. You have a structure that you
exactly. That's pretty much it. It's a class of things. They're customers, and there you go. You have a grid. So you have a data grid, and that
there it is. Yep, there it is. Data grids, man.
You can edit stuff. You can check boxes and kind of resize the columns and have many millions of lines and stuff like this. So, and it's running in the browser. So that's pretty cool.
Man, I miss the data grid. I'm going to be honest, y'all. I have fond memories of data grids.
And it's a pretty cool control. It does, you can do all sorts of grouping and, ordering and, collapsing and sections in middle and, so many things that you can do with that control. But that doesn't mean that you have to use this one. You can use many others. Like, there are ones from, the Syncfusion guys. There are also ones from, I missed the name, but they're probably I think Sasha is here, but there are many others that we can do.
Let's say surely I don't know if Telerik has one. Surely they do.
They do.
Yeah.
So many component vendors also have data grids. So this one is the one that's coming from Microsoft using the community toolkit, but there are others that do exist that are based on this. And so one of the other cool thing is that, so let me just take the reference that I added there, because it's we're going to be taking a look at running the same app, but using a native app on Linux, because that was a browser app. So I'm just going to copy the reference that's missing. And what I'm going to do is just reload the window for now, just make sure that it doesn't mix up everything. And we're going to be changing the target so that we use the GTK head. So what we're doing here is for Linux is rendering the UI using Skia. So Skia is the rendering backend that's used by Chrome, Chromium. So it's basically a pixel drawer, if you would. It's a pixel drawing library. And we're using a GTK shell to render the window so that it fits inside of the environment for Linux or Mac or others.
So is it a web browser running inside of a window?
Not at all. Not at all. It is a native app that runs C#. Inside of so it's a .NET app standard. It's a Linux binary, if you will, bootstrap there. There's no web in any way in that context. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to be changing the debugger here to go to Skia GTK. and the app is going to be building. But the idea is it's very important. There's no web at all when I'm running this app. So the WebAssembly one was using web because it was rendering to the web. But when building this one, it runs locally on my Linux. When it shows up, there you go. That's a GTK app that uses Skia to draw on a canvas using OpenGL, and there's no web. It's just drawing everything up inside of the app. So that's what it looks like.
Same code base, same exact code, now rendered as a native Linux app as opposed to a web page. Okay,
exactly. So that's the idea of things that we can do with this one. And one of the cool things about this is that we can do all sorts of interesting things with the rendering here. I think I had a window available, but that doesn't look. I think I closed it somehow. So let me open that one up. So let's go here. I had that demo, and that one is particularly interesting. And if you've been doing some Skia development, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's go here, Skia. So it's another demo that we show here and there to show people that what is possible to be done using hot reload and features like Skia and others. So that's an app that just shows the position of my mouse and draws a circle on the screen and things like that. But what I can do is use the hot reload feature. And if you've been doing game design or controls and things like that, it takes a ton of time to rebuild every time. And let's say I want to change the size of my demo god. There you go. It's probably because I didn't rebuild the app. Let me try again. But the idea is that when you have it running, it prevents you. It allows you to just modify the app and get to something that's running without having to change anything. And if you're doing
hot reload for a native app,
it's a hot reload for native app basically. And same thing. It's the same feature that we had on the web, and it's there as well when running inside of the. Oh, it's because I forgot. I always forget. So that's something that Microsoft has not done. You cannot do hot reload with the debugger. So that's where I messed it. You have to start without the debugger. So I hit Control F5.
Ah, there it is. Now
I hit Control F5, and now if I go back again here, and I change this to be a smaller, hopefully it will change to a smaller thing. And it was the first change that I made, so now it's a smaller one. But I can do things like for instance, stroke and fill if I want to. Or maybe just stroke, for instance. I just do stroke, and it will rebuild and give me. For some reason, did I save? Yeah, I did save. Oh, maybe I probably removed something up. No, did I miss something up? Okay, so there's still a few things that we need to adjust, and that's the thing. We have to integrate with Microsoft's tooling. So in some cases, we're making changes that are not working exactly as they should. So still working on that one, but it's quite amazing to be able to change your code and have things that are updating immediately when you're there. So for some reason, it's not updating. But anyways,
yeah. So let me just ask, because I think this is I clicked the wrong one. Hold on. This is a good question, Jerome. What about people that just want to learn XAML? Like,
if you want to learn XAML, okay. So
any good resources you know of for doing that?
So because we're doing the XAML that comes from Microsoft directly, basically any tutorial that does WinUI or UWP framework, or even WPF for that matter, if you want to learn, because it's pretty close in terms of behavior. So you can just do and use your any kind of things that we have there. On the .NET, on the Uno platform website, we have a set of resources at the end of the getting started tutorials, where you have a lot of resources where you can learn to do all those things on your own. And one of the things that's actually quite important with XAML is that you have to have Intellisense, and if you don't have that, you're lost. And that's one of the things that we implemented for for VS Code specifically is that getting access to all those things there.
So that's what the extension gives you. The Uno extension gives you this. Okay,
it gives you this. So, for instance, if you want to do, let's say, for instance, is enabled, it allows you to get true false. That those actually come from the exact the existing APIs, and it's all live. That means that when you're modifying the code, the code here inside of your app, then it gets updated to, let's say I do something like this. I created a new method here. I can use that method in the XAML directly. So for instance, on the grid, if I use the tapped method here, I could do xbind and use the test method that was created. And we're using the C# compiler in the back to parse the whole code that you have there, so that it provides you proper IntelliSense without having to reload anything, and just it just gives you all the things that you need to do your XAML without having to guess the properties that are there. Because without IntelliSense and code completion, it's difficult to do XAML because you don't know the properties and things. So that's,
the tooling is super important. I mean, that's true for any language or platform. So what happens if you use a property that doesn't exist? You get like a little squiggly that's like, I don't know what that is.
We're not there yet, but you're going to get an error when you build. But yeah, it's something that we want to have. And that's, so we released the extension in the preview to get a sense of what the community is going to be telling us. Is this something that you want? Is it something that's, getting hard on you when you do your application development? And something that we're seeing as well. If you don't have the right IntelliSense or error messaging that tells you that you're not doing something right, rightly inside the IDE, it's a problem. So we're going to add those new features here and there, especially that one, error management. But yeah, and on the topic of properties, that's interesting because on iOS, for instance, you can use the native properties for the iOS platform, and those properties may not be available on the others. So you can do things like
the specific
super iOS property.
So here's a good question on what kind of storage database can you use across platforms? Like, what do you recommend that people do? Is it like SQLite, or should we be writing to JSON files? Like,
yeah, SQLite. SQLite is good. We have support for SQLite, and we actually have a cool demo for this one. Let me show you this one. I think we do have there.
Geez, man, how many computers are you running? There's like like 19
4
operating systems on this stream.
4. Yeah, I have a Mac somewhere. I have a Linux box there and a few others. So
anything else we can get in the mix here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this one is an interesting app. It's an app that allows you to have a SQLite database. So this is C# code that's compiled in the browser, and when you execute it, it actually generates a database, a SQLite database inside of the browser, and you can actually change it and query it differently. So if I do this and execute again, it compiled the code again, ran that method, and changed the database. So the SQLite database that you can use inside a browser, and it's available on Linux, on Windows, on iOS, Android, and all the others. So pretty cool stuff that you can do with SQLite.
Very cool. So here's a great question. Is there a WYSIWYG editor for XAML? Like, I feel like there was at one point in time, or am I thinking of?
Yeah. So
what were those tools that Microsoft had like way back in the day where you could
blend?
Blend.
It was Blend, exactly. So Blend is something that was gradually phased out, and the problem, and that's a good thing, is it's you're talking about this. We have so Blend was phased out, and the biggest problem is that you can't take Blend is a developer tool, and designer won't use Blend. So the problem is that it kind of made it difficult. It still makes it difficult for developers to take the design that are coming from users and bring them to the web. So to your app. So that's where we actually, and that's a very good segue. We implemented something that's called Uno Figma, and it's something that you can take from Figma. So Figma is a design tool, and that most designers are using. And we have a plugin that's been developed in using Uno, and it allows you to take your design that you have here, and basically have it running inside of your app here, and it's pretty much the app running the design that you have here running inside of your plugin here. And it generates actual XAML. You can copy and paste into your app, and
No way. So you can design in Figma,
yeah.
and then it will generate the XAML for you. Somebody actually said that. They said, hold on, it's right here. Look, somebody literally said that's what Figma's for.
Yeah, well, Cal is from the Uno team, so he's working on that one specifically. He's the one coding the things behind those buttons. So
Gotcha.
But,
yeah, we use Figma too here at Microsoft on a lot of stuff. So I'm
sure
quite familiar. I feel like everybody uses Figma now. Like that's just everybody does it.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's what we've been doing for this one. We recognize that it's difficult for designers to get there, and Blend was interesting, but the problem is that it's a developer tool. It's not a designer's tool. It's not meeting where the designers are. So the handoff is very difficult there. So the point here is that the designer has the plugin, and they can test out how it looks like, and you can change a lot of things like the colors that you want, palette, and we're providing a set of files that allow you to make your application that look nice, and the moving, and for your app to look nice, and you can have all sorts of samples to test your Figma stuff and get your application running.
So like if I want to add a data grid to a Figma mock, how do I do that? Do I have to build my own data? Like, how does that work?
That's a good question. I think Cal or Francois are going to be able to answer that one. But yeah, I'm sure that one is in preview as well, and definitely things that we are interested in getting feedback from. So if you want to get a data grid there, maybe let us know. It's maybe something that we can add there, and so you can style and design everything up.
So the Uno for Figma was inspired by Figma Chart, built by Microsoft. Yep. He's thinking.
Exactly.
Francois, do you happen to know Francois as well?
Yeah, he's my boss.
All right.
So yeah, that's the kind of cool stuff, and it even does data binding and things. So yeah, that's the kind of things that we've been doing, and kind of making everything up. And I do know, I think they were talking about this on Twitter this morning. Talking about the fact that the designer was not there for the latest iterations of WinUI, and considering bringing it back, but it's difficult. It's difficult to get the designer right for all sorts of reasons, and it's probably
it's been tried over and over and over again by so many different companies. And even I use Figma, but I'm going to be honest, I struggle, right? Like I'm clumsy. I don't know what I'm doing. My design skills are limited, but I can use it, right? I do use it. In fact, when we make YouTube thumbnails, the designer will send me like, here's the template, just change the text and export, and I can do that.
Yeah, that way. Yeah, it's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm not doing all those things here.
Yeah. All right. Well, so any what else you want to show us on Uno before we have to?
We had we were talking about the light and dark theme.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Light and dark.
I just figured out like I want to say 2 weeks ago that GitHub has a dark theme that you can toggle on.
It does.
Like I just learned this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It follows the browser. What else can we talk about? So if you wanna test the XAML is inside of your browser, you can use the playground. So that's an easy one. You can experiment with all those things and take a look at what Windows been doing. Like if you want to test out the date pickers and things, things that you can experiment from here. We also have the Uno gallery, which allows to test features with the themings that we're providing. Like we have the material v3, so the newest iteration of material that you can slide your controls from, or use the Fluent ones, or use the Cupertino ones if you were going on macOS. But you can use whichever ones wherever you want. It's up for you to choose. You can view.
What's can you go back there for a second?
Yeah, I can.
I like themes a lot. So
you like themes a lot. Okay,
I do. Yeah, this is what got me into programming. Actually, is I had a computer and I was like, man, how do you make a button like with the rounded corners and the drop shadow?
Yeah.
That's so cool. So the material, you have Fluent, which is Microsoft's sort of design, and then what is Cupertino? I assume that's Apple, but I've never heard of it. Is that what Cupertino is?
Yeah. Well, we're calling it that way.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a way for you to have control that look like the Apple
I recognize
ones.
that. Yeah. And the Fluent stuff is stuff you'd find in like Teams. I think that's our standard UI.
It's Sun Valley, I think it is the name. So it's the fluent design system that you're going to find. So this looks like, if you have Windows 11, your controls are going to look like this, pretty much.
And is this the kind of thing you can swap out with like a theme tag at the top of the app?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for instance, you can take a look at this one. So if you're a material, you have a button. If you don't style it, it's going to look like the Fluent ones. But if you style it using this one, like elevated button style, then it's going to look like this one. And
gotcha. Okay.
If you go to Cupertino, same thing. Your button, if you want a Cupertino button style is going to look like this or this, depending on what you're looking for. So this kind of thing that you can do with the component libraries that we're providing to show your app the way you want, basically.
Very nice. Can we throw Peggy? Can we throw that URL up again for Uno's VS Code extension? They're getting started. Whatever our call to action here is, like, what are people supposed to do? Yeah. So there's the.
So that's a VS,
kind of a long URL.
Yeah, well, it's the add-in. So the gallery is here, and then there's of course the platform.uno. So if you wanna get started, basically click on the Get Started at the top, easy peasy, and choose your environment. If you're on Linux, you're gonna go for VS Code, obviously, or Writer, and macOS VS Code or VS Mac or Writer. And on Windows, pretty much the same. So it allows for going for many targets at once. And get you running, and we're standing on the top of the giant. Basically, .NET is doing so many nice things that run on all those targets, and we're benefiting from all this. Hot reload, C# hot reload, and support for OmniSharp and VS Code and others. So that's the kind of things that we're doing. So we're not reinventing all those.
It's crazy, actually, and I didn't realize. I'm not. I did .NET many years ago, but I've done JavaScript for like the last decade. So it's been a solid 10 years since I really touched. Since I touched .NET, but man, it's come a long way, man.
Very long way.
We are knocking on the door of what you can do with modern web dev, and
Definitely.
the whole attractiveness of modern web dev was like. Hot reload, it runs everywhere, right?
Exactly.
It's cross-browser, right? It's lightweight, and I don't know, it's starting to feel the same way.
It does, and it's moving a lot. It's moving a lot. Being able to run WebAssembly, for me, it's mind-blowing. You get your code, it runs in the browser. It can run, I can run a compiler in the browser. It runs there completely. The full C# compiler. It's nuts.
I want to say 2 years ago at an Ignite, I did a demo for Blazor where you could debug the C# in the Chrome developer tools.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's debuggable inside. If you let's see, I probably had that demo back again, but if you take that one and you put a breakpoint there, it's just gonna hit like any other one. So that's pretty cool. It's integrated inside of Visual Studio, and it works as is. So that's freaking amazing.
So just to clarify here, Jerome, what is the Uno extension giving? Like, why do they need that to do this? What does it provide them specifically?
Okay, so it provides three things. It provides IntelliSense, so being able to go to your page here and have some content that shows the actual properties and helps you there. The second thing, it provides you XAML hot reload. So XAML hot reload being I can change the content of that file and it updates automatically in the app when it's running. And the third thing it's providing is the C# hot reload. So it's integrating with what Microsoft is providing already with .NET to allow you to change the C# code and get that running. And updated the app when it's running. So that's the three things that it's providing. And it's providing also a few snippets, like if you want to do something like I think it's I don't remember exactly, but I think it's page, something like that. So you can do things like this. So it's providing a few things.
Yeah, and this is kind of a new extension, isn't it? I think it just came out.
The Uno extension, yeah. So in December we released it. So it took that's why we're dying to get feedback on how we're doing and the kind of features that you want and what's not working for you, and Maybe it's .NET stuff, maybe it's Uno stuff, maybe we don't know. It's things like that that we want to know about.
So there you go, chat. Use it. Let them know. They need your feedback. Last question, Jerome.
Yeah.
How can people make sure that they get to the Uno site without running into the Uno game search results?
Use Uno platform. If you type in Uno platform, then it's going to be disambiguated. But we get here and there, people saying, "Oh, I thought it was the Uno card game tweet," but no, it's not the same.
Yeah, we should have you back. We'll actually play Uno on the stream. When's the last time you played? Have you played Uno recently? I played it like a couple of months ago with my family. We were on vacation. We played Uno, and it was a rage-inducing 2 hours. It was not what I remembered at all. All right. Thank you so much, Jerome, for being here. Uno platform, y'all check it out. Install that extension. Please send your feedback their way. That would be super helpful for them. Anything else that you want people to do or to know, Jerome? Last chance.
XAML is optional. I see the last one. If you don't want to do XAML, you can do it all in code if you want.
Here we go. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We will see you back here next week for our next live stream, which I think is a release party. Don't hold me to that. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for being here, Jerome. Bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.